Okay, this is teaching video number 1. What I'm going to do today is play a couple basic chords on the guitar. If you're a beginner, this would be a good place to start. One of the chords that we always start beginners with is the C chord. Now the C chord, you put your first finger down on the first fret. Okay, now it's going to go on the second string on the first fret. So all of these boxes here, this first group of boxes here, it's called the first fret. Here, that's the second fret. That's the third fret. So if I say put your first finger on the first fret, you can put it anywhere on any one of these strings. And generally in the beginning, the first finger does play the first fret. So for this chord, I'm going to put my first finger on the second string. All right, I'm going to use the tip of my finger. So I'm using the very tip, especially if you have fat fingers, you got to use the tip of your finger. All right, the very tip, and I keep my thumb back of the guitar. If you look, I have my thumb like this. So when I'm playing, I'm kind of like squeezing like this, like pinching you almost. So my thumb's back here, and my first finger, that's a good shot of it right there. See, my first finger goes, so I'm pushing between here and here like this. Okay, so I keep that finger nice and round, and the tip of it's coming down. The tip of it's coming down into the guitar like this. You don't want it to be coming in on an angle like that, because you'll be hitting the other strings around it. All right, so the first finger goes on the second string on the first fret. And a good place to press down, you can press down anywhere here. This is the worst place. That's not too bad, but if you press down right before that metal bar here, that metal bar is also called a fret, but where you press down is right before that fret. That's a good place to press down. All right, so we're building a C chord. Your first finger goes on that second string. The third string you skip, and you bring your second finger over to the fourth string. So my first finger stays on the first fret, second string. All right, second finger goes over to the fourth string, second fret. All right, so we got that much of the chord. And now my third finger is going to come over here to the fifth string, okay, on the third fret. Play this chord, I try not to hit the sixth string, because that note doesn't really go with the chord. So what I want to do is just pluck from the fifth string down. Okay. So that's your strumming. So that's your C chord. Okay, the next chord is going to be very similar to C. What I'm going to do is the second and third finger, I'm just going to move down one string. So they were over on the fourth and fifth string, second and third fret. I'm just going to drag them across to the third and fourth string. Okay, that chord's going to be F. Okay, first finger stays there. All right. Okay, one more thing we got to do. When I bring those two fingers, you can see now, here's the C chord. All right, here's C. I'm just going to drag them over. See that? All right, now when I do that, my first finger is going to stay on the second string, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to rock him back and grab a hold of that first string. So the first finger is not only going to hold the second string, but it's going to also hold the first string now, both of those notes. So that's an F chord. It's a little tricky to play that chord. The first finger you're going to find it's going to be hard to get both of those down, so they ring. Best way to practice that is to start with the first finger. Make sure both notes are coming out. Then add the second. Then eventually add the third. And try not to keep your thumb up here, because if you try to play it like this, it can be very difficult to play. In the long run, you're going to find it difficult to play it this way too, with your hand down. But once your hand gets stronger, you will be able to play this chord much better. Alright, so that's your F chord. So C. There's your C chord, right? Then we go to F chord. And the last chord, the first finger again is going to be staying on the first string on the first fret. Okay, so we stay with that note, and these two fingers are going to come all the way over to the fifth and sixth string. Okay, so that chord is called G7. Okay, G7 is a great chord to know. Goes with the C. G7th, right? chords go together. And the F chord would be a close second. So basically the C chord and the G7th chord go together real well. Okay, now going back to C, if you start a song with a C chord, it's in the key of C. Okay, the key of C means that the first chord would be the C chord, and you can think of it as a scale, an alphabetical scale. If you went alphabetically from C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, you're back to C again. Okay, now if you listen to what I just said, I said C, the next note alphabetically after C is D, then E, then F, then G, then what happens? Yeah, goes back to A again. Okay, you have to remember that in music. So on any scale, if you started on F, it's going to be F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. You're right back to where you started from. 8 notes, that's called an octave. So if I started on C, I counted C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I did 8 notes. All right, so when you do 8 notes, you always end on the same note you started with. Now you call it an octave away. It sounds similar to that note, but it's one cycle higher, an octave. Okay, so you can think of a key as being those 8 notes. Okay, and what they do is they make a chord out of each one of those notes in the scale. So when you say the key of C, you play the C chord, that's your key right there. That's your 1 chord. We call it the 1 chord. So the first note of the scale was made into a C chord. D would be the 2 chord. E, F, F. There's that F chord we just did. So if you count from C, C, D, E, F, 4 up. So we call that the 4 chord. Okay, so C is your 1 chord. F is your 4 chord. So what would the G7th be? Now you got to count, right? So I'm going to say C. Always count the one you start on. Or don't say C and then start counting 1 after that. It's C, D, E, F, G. C, D, E, F, G. 5. So G7th is what we call the 5 chord. Okay? C, F, G7. The F chord's a little tricky to get, but the C and G7, you should be able to get that pretty good. The F is going to be a little, some of the notes are going to come out a little dead for a while, but that's all right. Don't go crazy about it. It'll get clearer, and it'll get better. As long as you practice, it'll get better. It might take you a couple weeks to get it. I remember it took me a while to get that chord. I can remember like it was yesterday playing that chord when I was your age, trying to get that F chord out. Okay? But eventually you'll get it. Now the reason why I'm telling you all this, the 1 chord C, the 4 chord F, the 5 chord G7th is, those are the basic chords in any key of music. Okay, meaning that most songs do use those 3 chords in them. Sometimes you might not find the F chord, you might just find the C and G7, but you will see, combinations of those chords, the 1, the 4, and the 5 chord. Okay, if you practice those 3 chords, you're going to find there's like a million songs you can play with just those 3 chords in it. And it's a good way to introduce yourself to playing songs on the guitar. Now, we're not talking about real fancy songs or, intricate rock songs or anything like that. We're talking about simple songs. What I mean by simple songs is think of some nursery rhymes, things that you grew up with it as a kid singing. If you're an older student, ones that you sang to your kids, like Old McDonald had a farm. If you play the C chord, right? This might sound a little silly, but it's not. If you play the C chord, that would be your first chord, so that would be the key of C. No matter what song you sing, the starting note for that song that you sing will be in that chord. Almost never you'll find a note that you start singing that goes along with the chord that's not in the chord. So if you wanted to sing Old McDonald Had a Farm, you could say, well, I'm playing the C chord here. Now what note do I start on? Well, you try it. Try different notes. Try singing it from those different notes. You'll find the one real quick which one works. I think it's the first finger note, the note that names the chord, and that's a C. So if you played the C chord, right away, something happened. It didn't go. It started off fine. What what happens? You have to change chords. It's going to be either the G7th or the F. It'd be one or the other. So what you do is you try it by trial and error. You know we're starting with the C chord. You hum the song real strongly. Then when you get to the next part that don't sound right, try playing one of the other chords. You say, oh, I got the right chord. Watch. I use the F chord. Now if I use the G7th, watch what happens. Don't sound right. You know right away it's the wrong chord. So what you're doing is not only you're learning to play these chords, but you're using your ear, which is so important with music. And right from day one, you should learn to use your ear when you're playing music. 3 chords, and try to figure it out. Find your note. Play that first note again, and hum it, and then start strumming it. Back to C. All of a sudden you'll start to find your fingers are changing to those chords without even thinking about it, because your ear is driving your fingers to play the right chords. And the more you do it, the better you get at it, and your ear gets stronger with playing chords. That song, say, if you have the sheet music that I gave you for lesson number 1, you'll see that there's 4 or 5 songs on it that are really well known. And I didn't put the name of each one of those songs, but I want you to play them and look at the tablature and play them and get an idea of what songs they are. And you should be able to figure out the chords by ear. Take a song like we just did, Old McDonald, right? How about another great song that everybody plays, Happy Birthday? Once again, same 3 chords, no other chords, just those same 3 chords. Try figuring it out. Try using your ear. That one would be C. Once again, start with the C chord. I think that one starts with the 3rd string. You can try different strings, different notes until you find one that works. Da, 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 da. Now you hear a chord change. Come down, G7. Da, 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 back to C. Da, 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 F chord. Right. So you're using your ear to figure out these chords. Try that. Try Happy Birthday. Try Old McDonald. Try any song you can think of that's an easy kid's song. Most of the time, you'll find that it's those same 3 chords. Sometimes you'll find it's only the 2 chords, the C and the G7th. Very seldom you'll find just the C and F chord. The C and G7th you'll see all the time. So once again, the C chord is your 1 chord, because that's the chord that's built on the 1st degree of that scale. The F chord was your 4 chord. Just count alphabetically up. C, D, E, F. G or G7, they're interchangeable, is the 5 chord. The most basic chords for any key, the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and 5 chord. And rock, they use those all the time. They might play it a little bit differently. Here's your 1 chord. I'm doing it in the key of G. That's 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, or 1, 5, 4. You've heard that a million times in music. All right, so this is really important. It's good for your ear to do this. Don't overlook doing these easy songs, no matter what age you start playing the guitar. If you do this, you'll have a ball doing it, and you'll be able to figure out tunes very easily by using your ear. The 1, the 4, and the 5 chord. Very important chords to play. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this first lesson. Go home and practice. Take your guitar out and play along with it. Okay, have fun.